Hello, everybody. This is me again. I This is a video about what I would have done differently for the Fantastic Four movie. I haven't seen it actually, but I've read a lot about it, and I've heard relatively universal bad. Yeah, from what I've heard. Um, I mean, the issue with the film, they changed too much. I think is what I've heard, and they did too much different. And I know, and seems so strange to me that they would copy some of the similar mistakes from the last films, but make new mistakes. So this is just me saying what I would have done differently, even though I haven't seen it, and I probably won't. 'Cause I'm not going to waste money on that. Um, First of all, one of the mistakes the movie made, as I understand it, is spending too much time building the interdimensional transporter. I've heard a lot of it. I've heard a lot of it described, and I know that's probably the first hour. I've heard that the first hour, is a lot of people's favorite stuff, and that's fine. It's just you waste so much time on that, you take away from the rest of the story. You can still start the movie off with Reed as a kid, and show him and Ben connect as people, and then you show Reed's first demonstration of the interdimensional transporter, and then you start with then you cut right to the credit, the opening credit or title, and go there, and you go on from there. And you show Reed and Ben show their device to the government for funding, and they're approved of, and they're placed under the head of research, Franklin Storm. Susan and Johnny being people authorized. If you wanted to keep the same actors in play, personally, the adoption thing isn't the biggest deal for me, but I would probably have just made them a part of a mixed race family. It's a lot more straightforward, and you don't mess with the comic canon of them being blood related, as far as I know. Johnny would be approved as the engineer, and as would Ben. Ben would be one of the engineers on the project as well. Susan would be the biologist assigned to the project. There would be the government, both the government and Latveria would be funding it as a means to help combat the underground terror cells called the Molides, which is part of the Mole Man, and they're attacking Latverian government bases, and American government bases, and stealing technology. Victor Von Doom would be Destin. Sorry, hardcore fans, I just can't reconcile the idea of having a guy walk around with the name Doom. You could have an interaction where he and Reed say, where Reed brings up the name. I read up Doom, and I found other things where and apparently Destin is Romanian for Doom, so that's pretty much why I chose it. So I'm saying I'm awkward in front of a lot of people.
You don't even know who are going to be watching that.
That was my brother. Sorry, he's a bit of a sourpuss.
Only that.
See? Victor von Destin would be the monarch of the country, and he would ask to oversee the project, having worked on this project himself. And that sort of thing. Reed could even mention that his name is Doom and joke about it. Sorry. The American government wouldn't know that Victor von Doom's real plan is to steal Reed's tech for his own use, because this has been a project that he's been trying to crack for a while, having almost cracked it but completely failed, and discovered a power source of infinite proportions. You would montage through building the device. You'd show how they connect. You could show the sort of playful, I guess, banter between Johnny and Ben. See how they just don't like each other, but they're also kind of, a bit like older brother and little brother. They kind of mess around with each other. And you'd show Reed and Sue connecting too, over their interests and things like that.
Boo romance.
Yeah. And they would build, and finally they would show them successfully use the device. And while they're testing, and while they're showing the first test to the device to the group, to the government, Victor would allow his men, or Doombots, if you want to go that route, to come into the demonstration and destroy all the research and take the tech for themselves, which sabotages it and causes the tear between the negative zone, and the Earth, and disrupts the mission and causes a severe accident, an accident. Their containment suits would rip open, and they would be exposed to the cosmic energy in the negative zone. They would escape, but an explosion of cosmic energy would destroy all the tech, but leave a sort of a rock of energy there. And Victor, it would cause this huge explosion of the equipment, which would horribly scar Victor. Victor would keep his nose clean. He would pretend that he had nothing to do with it, of course, nothing to do with the sabotage, of course, but because it would work, because mostly the men would be destroyed. Ben would get the worst of the cosmic energy, because he would throw himself on top of Reed to protect him.
Oh my god.
And Reed would feel responsible.
Responsibility.
That would all happen within the first 40 minutes, about, and the next act, I guess, would be about them sort of discovering their abilities and how it affects them and how it works with them, and the government would be curious about this ability, about these powers and stuff, and wanting to try and recreate them, but they couldn't figure out how. Meanwhile, Victor has been severely damaged, and he has been taken back to Latveria, and his company would be very well versed in cybernetic research, and he would have them create a robotic suit, and he would have them create a robotic suit for him to help his body in its scarred state. And as a power source, they would use one of the rocks from the energy from the negative zone that they have, that one of his men took, managed to get a hold of. The government would want to use the group, the Fantastic Four, would want to use them for their own purposes. They would refuse, but they would be forced to do it by them as a secret task force, under the duress that they either do that or be lab rats for the government. They go through missions and are discovered by the public through found footage events being found by that's been released to the world, to the news, probably by Franklin Storm. And they would become famous to the world, and people would love them, and Doom would find this out. Victor would find, and he would, having not known that they gained powers, he'd be enraged and want to, and be jealous that they got powers while he was subjected to being scarred and forced to live in this bodysuit.
Through a whole Darth Vader thing.
And he would want to, and he would discover that because his suit is powered by one of the remnants of the negative zone, that it gives him powers. Like, he doesn't have the powers, the suit has the powers, but he wants to recreate the powers that the 4 has and give them to himself inside his own body instead of needing the suit to use them. He tries to recreate it, but he can't. He tries to recreate it using the remnants of the negative zone, but he can't. And it causes horrible deformities, and people die, and it's like you can't figure out he can't figure out what he needs to do. So he vows to kidnap the group, and steal their abilities for himself. So, well, what he would do first is he was discovered that it had to do with the natural that the natural energy of the negative zone can sort of give traits to people of certain things. So he thinks that he can use the negative zone to capture their powers for himself. So he recreates the device. He recreates the device using a lot of some of the tech, the remnants of the tech that his people stole, and sort of wants to amass more power and domination of the world by gaining their power and using the negative zone to threaten the world. When the Mole Man, that would be when the Mole Man would, around the time the Mole Man would attack one of Victor's bases, one of the Latavarian bases, and Victor would catch him and make a deal with him. If he attacks another American government base as a way to, the Mole Man would attack one of the government bases for him. Doom would give him, Victor would give him all the tech he needs for what he knows he's stealing it for, which would be Mole Man what Mole Man wants is to continue his exploration to prove a theory that he has of something called the Hollow Earth. And that would be basically what happens. Is that Mole Man would attack a government base. The 4 would battle him. He would have complete control of Victor's Doom bots as a means to weaken them so that Doom can get a hold of them, and they would defeat him, and only to be transported by Doom using the negative zone device. And Mole Man would escape, and Victor has used, and they would all be transported to the negative zone by Doom. And Victor would then proclaim himself as Dr. Doom. He would be a doctor like Reed. And he would, because it would be a reference to Reed calling him Doom earlier. Sort of accepted who he is now. I'm sorry. He uses the negative zone to power his suit's supreme enhancement and battle the 4 and drain their abilities. They band together as a team and defeat him, and separate him from the negative zone and pull him out, or maybe he's trapped there. That could work, and that would be the end of the movie. The whole world would know that they saved the world, and they would quit the government, telling them that there's nothing that the government can do to them now, with the fact that they've saved the world and they've become known to the world, and everyone knows it. And the press would give them the name Fantastic Four, and they would accept the name Fantastic Four at the end of the movie, and that would be the end. And you could have a post-credit scene if you wanted of the Mole Man discovering the Hollow Earth. And that's my completely uninformed thought on Fantastic Four. I stutter a lot and said a lot and can't quite work out how to talk. I have no charisma. Thank you for watching, if you did watch. See ya, God bless you.